6:02 on the official clock, so I will call the special meeting of the Concord Lake Forest Lake Watershed District to order. The topic tonight is the 2026 budget. And that's it, so we can begin the process. Do we need to do a roll call? Yes, I do.
All right, Manager Loeb, Manager Schmaltz,
Here.
Manager Baki,
Here.
Manager Taves,
Yo.
President Anderson.
Here. All right, well, let's get started. Just wanna say just a few words here first. I don't think we need to go through all the detail of both of these scenarios unless there's changes. So we've been through that. I think, really what we're gonna be talking about tonight is, which way are we going to go? I know, Steve, you've made some changes to yours, so we'll have to talk about those, right?
Just
The
one change, yes.
Yeah, so we should talk about that. So I'm gonna let you tell the board what changes you've made to yours.
Okay, so, Doug and, Dave, do you have copies of, I'm gonna go to the, 818 version. Where there was we changed the percentage increase from 20 to 23.7. For 2026.
Was this what was given to us last night?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do something differently. I sent out a copy to you right now of the percent, the levy percent changes in a separate sheet. Did you get that email this afternoon?
Yes,
If not, Jackie can, or I mean, Emily can put it up.
I just got it and I just haven't had a chance even to look at it yet.
Well, we can go through it, that's fine. Dave, what about you? And Emily, can you put that up? This is the chart you worked on for me this afternoon. It's a.
Not,
The key budget variables,
Yeah,
or one moment. Is that big enough?
and can you make that a little larger? You can? Maybe I can by getting this thing small over here.
Yeah, we
Oh,
can't
yeah.
see it all at once, but is that better?
not that one, go down.
This one?
No, move your mouse down. No,
Oh, here.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
There you go. And now you can press the big search square in the top right hand corner of the Zoom box, Zoom. There you go.
Okay. So if everybody's got that in front of you, I just wanna go, we need to probably explain to the public too, how we got to our percent increase, so this is designed to kind of do that. So this example right now, levy strategy, which is the 20% levy increase in 2026. So if you look at the 2026 column, what I'm saying is that the normal levy increase is gonna be between 4% and 7%. So that's where you get the 7%, and then, historically, we, have lost 10 years of revenue. And the audit shows that we actually have $64,000 coming, so I put in another 3.6% in 2026 to cover that 64,000. And then the rest of the 20% is 9.4, and that's the charge, surcharge we're putting on to pay for the loans that we have. So everybody understand that. So then the following year, Manager Anderson's done a similar thing. She's got a separate 400,000 line that covers all that for $2 million. So then 2027, it drops down to 6%. And we've also included an extra 0.5% each year now. As long as we have a levy because we lose about 0.5% each year on bad debts. So we're just gonna build that into our levy increase. So that gives us 6.5, and then the levy surcharge drops from 9.4 down to 7.7. And that gives us 14.2. 2028, 6% stays, 0.5% stays. But since we dropped down to 13.2, the levy surcharge is now at 6.7. Can you move to the right now, Emily? Then maybe another 3. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So in 2029 now. This is where the cash flow catches up very quickly, so our levy increase really could be a zero. And with a positive 0.5% that we're gonna charge, that means the levy actual increase will be a negative 0.5. So there it's zero, the next year, it's a negative 7.2, it could be. The following year, and by the way, that the 3 years that we raised it is now zero all the way out, so we paid off over the hump of the loan in terms of getting enough cash flow to cover it in the time period we want, so everything else is zero, so they've already paid it off for us in that respect. And as you can see, everything else is either negative or slightly positive in this particular scenario. So let's scroll down now, Emily, to the next example. Now, when I was talking to Mike, he suggested that and generally, if we want to have a 20% increase, we may want to have something a little higher published. So we have room, if we need to increase it, we can use that number. If we want to still come down in December, we can come back down to the 20%. So I suggest that we just put in a 23.7% rather than 20%. That's levy strategy number 2, as you see there. And if you scroll across, everything's pretty much the same, except this gives us an extra 66,000 out of the gate in terms of cash flow, levy cash flow. So the numbers are gonna be slightly better here. And that actually gives us more room if we want more, actually, by the time we're done with the levy, the 3 charges, you see 2029 is actually, instead of being 0, is now -3. So we actually picked up money there also, so it's actually a little bit more aggressive, and it gets us, gives us some more cushion, so to speak, in terms of not having to have a loan. We've taken out from this version, and the previous version, the loan was 300,000. In this version, the loan is 234, I think, Emily, 234,000.
Yes.
So we dropped off that good part of that loan, we replaced it with levy, which keeps multiplying as we go across. So now if you drop down, go to the number, that's the 7th, the 10-year forecast. Emily, if you could. What number do we have? We have this, what version is it, 20%? Yeah,
23.7% increase.
okay, go, drop down to the, where the, reserve percentage is, so you can see now that in 2025, our reserve is gonna be about almost 26%. In 2027, it's 27.2. And then because of that extra money coming in, we're in the low 30s for 27 and 28 for the reserve. And then it drops up to 46 and is between 46 and 52 throughout the rest of the years. Actually, we could be, the auditor says if we're at 40%, we're normally in pretty good shape. So if we wanted to, we could take the difference, which is about 25% of the reserve, and use that to further reduce the levy and pay back some of the money they had to pay up front for that loan. We have a lot of flexibility after year 2. So after those first 3 years of 2026, 27, and 28, we're in good shape, even with just three increases. And of course, in this case, the increase is 23.7%, and that's a lot smaller than 60%. So hopefully there's more likelihood that 60% is going to attract a lot of attention, which could mean that we have to spend quite a bit of time convincing and explaining what we've done, and then actually regaining the support and positive perspective from the public. So I think it's a little, we may get a lot of pushback on 23.7 too. I don't know, but I think 60 is a little bit more visible number. So that's kind of where we are between those 2 scenarios. And I would recommend that for now, we go with a higher number, even though we may want to come up with 20, or if we have a lot of pressure, we may want to get down to 19.7 or something like that. But we have room to do that. And if we just go with the 20%, and we decide, we find out between now and the end of the year, we need to give more money, then we can't do that. So that's kind of where where this scenario, takes us. Let me see if I missed anything, but I want to cover. So our story basically is that, we got all this water quality work done because we wanted to get it done before the grant funds run out. It's all finished. You've been driving a brand new car for like 2.5 years now. So now the time to pay for it. And this is a small charge for 3 years to get it paid for that you're enjoying. And there's a lot of reasons we can show why that is. But once after the 3 years, we actually have the ability to pay some of your money back to you in a lower levy than what we could charge. So it depends on what our projects, what our programs are, what our employee capacity is for work, and what we need to get done. So that's kind of what the story is there. Any comments or questions I can answer? Or you have any feedback on that?
President Anderson,
Yes, go ahead.
Steve, in both your strategy 1 and strategy 2, do both of those include the loan of $234,000 and the cut of $295,000?
Yeah, yes, this also, I should mention, that was another key point. This approach compared to the 60% is locked in heavily on a $295,000 decrease in 2026 compared to the initial budget we looked at on May 30th. So we pulled a lot of money out of here, at least for a year, and to help slacken to help not go to a 60% increase. So I think saving money is, as I said many times before, if you're trying to control your cost and budget, it takes a little bit from all areas. And so this looks at cost control, it looks at some loan use plus the levy. And I think people have an appreciation that we did pull back. And also this example does the same as Manager Anderson's. All of our projects will be paid for by levies. And on all the programs, our goal is to get 20% funding by grants on the programs overall. So,
And then, Steve, if I can comment also, the in 2026, it appears that one of the largest expenditures in the project area is the Heath Avenue project for Little Comfort. And I think we need to explain how that's going to be paid for, because I did ask that question earlier today and Emily was able to provide some details as to how that's being paid for. Emily, do you want to explain that?
Yes. So Manager Baki, managers, that's a good question. So when Steve is saying that 100% of project costs are covered by grants, that is our projection scenarios for 2027 and beyond. That requires us to say, if it's not covered, it doesn't move forward. However, in 2026, we have a grant in hand. It's one of the largest grants that's ever come through the Projects and Practices Clean Water Fund program. And it's so large that even coming up with the 10% match, we can't do it all with just staff time. So we can't cover 100% of that match with the staff time. And so we can't cover 100% of the project with grants. So there's going to have to be some local expenditure unless, and this is what I said in my email, we can get another grant to cover that match. Now you can't use state grants to cover that match. It has to be a federal or local or something else. We are scheduled to get our next installment of our Section 319 Small Watersheds Focus Grant. That would really solve a lot of problems for us because we could use that to cover the match. It'd really go a long way toward balancing the budget because it's about $67,000 that I'm estimating of match expenses in 2026. However, due to some uncertainty going on at the federal level, that grant is in jeopardy and it might fall through. So we can't guarantee that it's coming through. So if we want to commit to that project being 100% funded by grants, then we could delay it a year in hopes of securing other grants to cover that match, or we have to cover that match ourselves.
So I'd like to just make a suggestion here. I think it's very noble to try to get 100% coverage on grants. But like in the program area, that's probably not possible with all the programs we have. But so we have a target of 20%. You know, if we're at 95% and we've got a nice project and we're missing 5%, I don't think we're gonna walk away from that. You know, so I think we should say our goal is to get 100%. But we're within something that's manageable and we have the cash available to do it. We'd be crazy to walk away from a project that's that large and that good, for example. If we have to put a few more bucks into it. So I think we need to be a little careful when we have the public meeting that we want to say we switched to a goal of maybe instead of 80% grants, we're gonna try to get to 100%. But if we're short by 5 and 10, or even maybe 10%, we still, if it's a good project and we've got the cash to do it, we'd be silly to walk away from it. Because the other option is to do 75 2.5 pound grants at $3,000 a pound instead of what this one's gonna be at 70 or 80 or whatever it's gonna be. It's probably more than that, if I recall correct, but you know where the argument's going.
Right.
The other thing is that Mike has suggested that we go after Bowser again and try to get them reconsider that we should get, not only past for future, but maybe give us some back pay also on this whole thing. I think we should go and
That
ask.
was Kurt Sparks,
suggestion.
comment to me, yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Well,
that's
actually,
another
it
option.
was
we
to
can
all
have.
of us, because he wrote it
Yeah.
in the email.
So that's another example of having time on your side. Well, you know, we don't have to necessarily go to 60%, get it all now. We can get it here with the 3 that we put together, but it buys us almost 3 more years. And each year we got more information to either make a lower decision on the levy or a higher decision on the levy, depending on what's required. We're not locked into the 60% out of the gate. And I think flexibility is really, really important. If degrees of freedom and how you operate your business is critical. If you only got a few or one, you don't have as a versatile company as you can do a lot of other things and still move ahead. So another reason to take 3 smaller cuts than 1 big bite. Thanks, Dave, for asking that question.
Yes,
Madam President, Manager Maltude, earlier, and I just, point of order, I think Manager Baki clarified, you said 100% of the projects that were from levy, but you meant 100% from grants, correct?
Right.
Yes, okay, and then, the other is just for, public audience, 319 is a federal grant source passed through the state, NPCA. So,
well, I think it's important to understand too, though, we have large goals because that's what we ultimately want to see. But as I don't think we've ever stepped away from doing a project if we had to fund it a different way. So that's nothing new. I see in the changes that you've made that it's more like the CPA, I call this the CPA version. Where you have that more immediate impact if you do it all at one time. And is it bold? Yes, it's bold. But I think that with the history that we have and the fact that we still are very, very low as far as taxes for most folks, that it's not going to be that tough. There's gonna be some people that will be upset, obviously. Nobody's happy all the time, right? So, so I'm not seeing that as such a big deal. I don't like the idea of stretching it out. We talked about that with CPA and I, when we first got the first meeting with the CAC. And, it just takes away the immediate impact of that higher levy on other things within the organization. Our reserve starts being filled, more readily. The debt obviously gets paid off faster. So there's a lot of positives to making that step. I did a little cover memo. And just not talking percents, but talking the dollars. And also included the separation between Washington County, their 75% load and our, in Chisago County, 25% load. So the numbers, when you look at it by county, are still the same percentage, but it's not that same dollar value that the entire district has. So people can look at it more from that perspective, which I think helps. But the number in Chisago County obviously is much smaller than what Washington has, but it makes it, I think, more palatable to people when they see that Chisago County, which does not have all of the commercial property that Washington has, which offsets the residential amount. And so it looks more reasonable that way. But there is a little, I put a little section in here, a lot of it's talking about just the process of public meetings and the importance of them. But in the second paragraph, no, it's the third one. Cause you've got on the top of the memo, there's the dollars and the increase in dollars, the split on the two
Did
counties.
you send that out to everybody?
Yeah. There's
When did
there's
it go
one,
out?
there's
Okay,
one.
I don't have that in. but-
And then the next step, is, some background and then significance of the budget. That's where I get into, what, why we are where we are without going into a lot of detail. And that's on the top of the second page, the backside. Starts second paragraph, to keep levies low. Historically, the district has covered annual inflation, ongoing projects across 4 sub watersheds and water cleanup efforts by relying on vital state low interest loans, 1.5%, tailored for small watersheds like ours. We have reached a point where we need to concentrate on paying off the loans and raising the needed operating money via levy. On the advice of our certified public accountants, we have prepared the 2026 budget to reflect that advice. So I wanted them to know that this levy has some backing by certified accountants. And that we're not just pulling numbers out of the air or strategies out of the air. As our budget has been very frugal in the past, we are moving to a new 10-year platform of stabilization by paying off the debt over the next 10 years, with growth in the levy stabilizing at 3 to 4% per year in 2 years. And that's what shows on the chart that the CPAs did, is that we start getting down into those really single digit in 2027. The total levy increase percentage in 2027 is 6.7%, 2.7% in 2028, 2.5 in 2029, and 2.7 in 2030. And then we are in negative territory in 2031 by 10% and 2032 at 3.8. And what that shows, obviously, is that the bigger projects are going to be completed and the levy increases, we still need that base, but the levy increases going forward are going to be minimal, very minimal. And it still provides us with that higher platform to maintain our operations without going into loans and that kind of thing. So that's how this was written, is to show people that, we did that lower, we kept that lower base longer than we probably should have. So we had to use the loans, and now it's time to pay off the loans and move forward. So anyway, that's the point of it. I hope that satisfies maybe some of your curiosity of how we were going to handle the announcement to the public, but this is my recommendation. And I'd be happy to take any feedback that you guys give before we actually use it. Mike's gonna have some things to add to it as well. The other thing I wanted to point out is that if you wanna have the rationale for this budget process that's laid out here in the CPA form, is to look on the assumptions page. It's all laid out there. And the results, the assumptions are what's basing the way this is put together. The results, of course, that we're seeking is number one, increase of 60.6%. It is actually in the levy for 2026, followed by 4 years of reasonable levy increase and 5 additional years of levy decreases based on declining debt balances. Number two, reduced need for borrowings. We don't want to do that anymore. Reduced overall borrowing costs, which are minimal because we have such low interest on them, but there's still costs involved. And then 3, immediately begins building unrestricted reserves and net position. And if you spend 5 minutes looking at that area, you can see how robust that reserve becomes very quickly, within 2 to 3 years. And as Steve was saying in his scenario, when that capacity and the reserve increases, now we can start paying off loans earlier, those straggling loans that are gonna take us 8 to 10 years to get rid of. We can start applying some of that to the debt and get that taken care of sooner. But it's, you know, it's all good from that point forward. And we should never have this tightness that we've been experiencing the last couple of years in overhead costs for the next 6 months of the first year of the succeeding year, I mean. So I just think it's a good package. It's tough, obviously, to deal with the public and make sure they understand it, but I think once they start looking at the dollars, that extra look at the per residence costs by month helps a great deal. And then, of course, keeping in context with the actual burden that the different counties are going to have. It's gonna be split up like it always has been. And we didn't talk a lot about that in the beginning, but with the public, we might want to think about having meetings in Chisago County and in Washington County. Because we are talking about two different things, huh?
Ted raised his hand.
Yes, Ted? I understand your hand is raised.
Better on mute, yeah. And the question I have is if we go to, page 4 of Steve's side of things,
Yeah.
and we're talking a lot about the levy, but when I look at the increase in project and program expenses going up 56%, I think we need to really address why the big increases are going on there. With the levy going up 23% and expenses in those two big categories going up 56%, we're going to have, probably need an explanation on that.
Okay, that's a good point. Steve, can you address that?
Well, yeah, as we talked about, you could almost put any numbers in those columns after, the only solid data we have is in terms of, projects, and that is in 2026 and 2027. 2028, we're still guessing on what we might be working on in the future. We don't know that. We know a lot about, flooding and all that kind of stuff, so we have information, but we haven't been able to talk to the cities or any even to plan that out, so. The numbers you put in there don't really matter too much, Ted, because they're covered mostly by grants. So if we come less, we only go half the grants that year. If we only have half the projects, we only have half the grants. So the income and the project costs are tied together. So going up or down doesn't impact us one way or the other because there's no net gain or net loss in revenue above or below costs. Does that explain your question?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, though, if we look at the revenue under the revenue section or budget item section, revenue and loan proceeds on page 4, it's that top area. If you go over to 2026, that's 1,784,620. Isn't the bulk of that the Heath Avenue project? Okay, so that's one big project, as was mentioned earlier. It's the largest grant that has come out of competitive grant area. Yeah, and that's going away. That's gonna be all that money is gonna go into the Lower St. Croix and the regional watersheds just like it. So we'll have to go through that organization after, I think, 27, I think is when they want it to be.
We'll have access next year, but there is no competitive grant program for this year like we normally have.
Right,
For the last whatever, dozen years or more, we've
Mhm.
put in at least one grant in August
Yeah.
for that program and.
Yeah, so I think, you know, just knowing that we've got an extraordinarily big project that's going to take place in 2026. So that would make up for, you know, that difference. You were comparing it to 2025, is that right? And that's a number of different projects.
Yeah, correct. I'm looking at comparing to the
Mhm.
2025 estimate earnings. There's just, if that's the estimate at year end and here's where we think 26 is going to be, what's the difference? And so,
Yeah,
and yeah, I
I
can
think
see a
so.
big bunch
Yeah.
coming in here, but
Yeah,
still looks like, you know, you know, the projects and the program numbers look huge when you put them together
Yeah.
compared to 2025. And yeah,
Yeah,
you got a big grant coming in, but
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to be quite enough.
Well, Ted, if you took out half of those numbers, half of the grants and half the projects for each year, the only net benefit would be that would really help us because then our reserve number goes up faster. So in essence, we're actually penalizing ourselves by having those numbers in there. I think, Manager Anderson had about the same numbers as we did. Did we use the same numbers and project them out? I know we did in terms of wages and all the other real hard costs that we have to protect on.
Yeah, those should be the same. Well, I like separating out those two things. I mean, they're presented as a complete budget here, but in this memo that I did, I separated out that we have a general fund levy that takes care of all the overhead, those annual things that have to be taken care of. And then I do a separate one for the programs and projects, the capital projects, basically. So that is 2.3 million itself. The levy for the general fund is 2.8, almost 2.9 million. So we have a combined budget then of, you know, about $5 million.
What year was that for?
That's for the budget for 2026. It's on the top front page. Here.
So I guess two things. One is I think it would be helpful to look at, first of all, I want to mention that I also have a written up email that I sent to you guys. So you have that in front of you, or you should have it in your email. So what I talked about is summarized more succinctly in there, just like Manager Anderson did. So you can refer back to that. The other thing that's really important for us to look at is what is the impact of a 60% increase versus a 23% increase on the cost per resident? And I think Manager Anderson has that information. Maybe she could go through that for us and show us that information.
Well, it's on the report. I mean, you have it, right? It's showing at the bottom of, I think this is page 1. It's the property tax, I think it might be page 2. At the very top, it says levy analysis on the blue bar. And then if you go down, scroll down, we're looking at property tax comparison by market value. That's what I assume you mean, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. It starts out at a home value of 375 thousand, and that impact. This is for the average home. This is what's considered the average home there. And so the impact for that is $323 and by month, I asked of them to do it by month as well, it's $27 per month. 475 is 411 and $34 a month. I'm gonna skip over the 5 and 6. I'm gonna jump to 700,000. And that's 734 per year, $61 a month difference. And the 975 home is 975,000 is a 951 per year and $79 per month. So those
I
are all.
I don't see those, I only have the $375 sample on my sheet.
Well, this was sent out to everybody, wasn't it? Emily?
No, this is what I got, yeah, Emily printed it off for me. It's not printing on the bottom then, I guess, because we're not getting it.
Well, it should
Steve,
be
there's
though.
new printed documents available at the office that we just
Yeah.
printed this afternoon when we fixed the print settings on that.
Yeah,
I just thought it was that one area, all the sheets were short changed then, okay. I got it now, all right.
yeah,
So just to make a point here then, so that's a 323 divided by 202, that's a 60% increase. So, or basically $123 for 2026. If ours is a 20% increase, that would increase it by $40 instead of $123. So there's quite a difference there, and if you go up to the larger houses,
but what would it be over time? I mean, you've got 2 more years of increases.
well, but they're gonna be interested in what's happening next year on their statement. When they're gonna get their statement, they're gonna look at it, and that's what we have to, in
Right.
fact, I don't even plan on talking about the next 2 years.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna talk about 2026 if we have a meeting. So,
But you've got a budget proposal that has 3 years of increases.
right,
So you
but
rather talk
unless
about
they
that?
wanna get into that, I don't know that we need to even get into that. So, but in any event, the other thing I wanna point out is that in the watershed district for Forest Lake, about, I think 13% of the homes are on the lake. And most of the, and then the rest are not, they're not on the lake. So you have, a way big majority of people that aren't even on the lake. And so if they see a 60% increase, if they even notice it, they see that and concerned about it. They can't relate to what value they're getting from it as somebody that's on the lake. So that's something we need to consider also, a good vast majority of people don't live on the lake. And even though they impact the quality of the lake because of the drainage and all that, unless they go and put boats on it or swim there or something, they're not living on the lake, so they don't see as much value perhaps. So that was something else I think we should consider.
Mhm.
Um,
And they're not going to be as expensive as the homes on the lake, and so they're going to fit into those lower rates probably.
and maybe the percentage won't bother them, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know we have a lot of people that don't wanna pay $50 dues to join the Lake Association that live on the lake. Cause they say, hey, I can go out and get a nice dinner for that. So, and we only got half the members signed up. So money is of importance to people, especially with things being as tight as they are right now, just something we have to consider. And if we have we could get a big negative response to 20% too, or 23%. Compared to what we've been doing in the past, so I'm not saying there won't be a response. But I think 60% is a little bit more noticeable, it's something we should be aware of and take into consideration. So I just think it's important to look at that number also.
Yeah, it's all important. It just depends on which way you wanna go.
And how people react to it.
Yeah, and there's always going to be people that are against anything. And there's going to be people that are in the middle, and there's going to be people that are fully supportive, so, it's just. Playing the odds, I guess, but
The other
I
thing,
think when you do the job of telling the story, then people put things into perspective. Are they getting their money's worth out of the expenditure of the higher taxes? And again, it's not gonna move them into the territory of city taxes or county taxes or school taxes. We're still gonna be down on that bottom edge. And with this immediate hit impact, it starts going down really quickly. And our reserves go up, and so we can do more with that reserve money. And then in the future, as we get our big projects done, we can even look at reducing that. And that's the goal.
So the other observation I wanted to make is that, since we did a cost control program. And tried to be more conservative on our total levy increase just to get us through over the hump, so to speak. And you wisely want to build a lot of assets and that's so we can continue our aggressive move forward. We're gonna have to pull back a little bit. But if you look at what that means to
Your
the
scenario, we'll have to
pull back, right,
Mhm.
right, because I'm gonna point out how much difference there is there. So in your scenario, you're gonna end up with a levy in 2033 of 2.4 million versus a 1.8 million in 2025. That's $600,000. Our levy, I'm sorry, you're gonna end up with a million of 2.85 million. Our levy by the end of 2034 will be 2.4 million. So you're basically almost 450,000 higher. And than we are, and our levy compared to the original 2025 is about $500,000 higher than that. So you'll be almost $1 million over what the levy was in 9796.
Well, but what I just said holds is that when you're starting to look at that 2030 period and above, that's when you can start reducing the base even. You've got these small negligible increases in the levy.
Right.
Then you start looking about, once all the debt's paid, that's the number one thing, is get rid of that debt, and that goes, there's the 400,000 special levy. But, I think we should be looking at this number, the second line under tax levy. That's also existing debt. So we need to be paying back both of those lines. And they're not in play. We're not gonna take any more out. We're just gonna pay this off. And the 500, this 2030 amount is 580,000. So what I'm saying is that we get such an immediate impact to our reserves on this CPA budget that we can start paying that debt down early.
No, I agree with that, and that's something we would probably want to do also. But if you look at the expense line, and we end up with expenses in 2034 of $3.8 million for the year, and you're at 5.35 million. So you're gonna have a lot
That's
more
included.
dollars to work with than we are.
Yeah.
So, which is good, but on the other hand, that means you're gonna need a lot of your levy to cover that.
I think Manager Tate has something to say.
Yes, Manager Taves?
Yes, I took that line of what the increases were to the mill levy through the next 10 years and totaled them up by the different scenarios. On the one where we take that 60% jump immediately, by the end of 10 years, we are still at 60.6% above where we are now. And yeah, we paid debt earlier, but we're still at 60.6% above the current rate. In the other scenario, with the slower increments and paying off the debts a little bit more slowly, in 10 years, we're at 32.3%. Almost half of that same mill level. That to me is kind of alarming. To vote for because when we do the 60% increase and the 23% this year, that's the new floor. That's not up and then we're dropping back down to where we are. That's the new floor. So increases on top of that, in the first 4 years out, we're up there, we're pretty tough. And then those numbers, and then it drops to 10.9%, 3.8%, but it still never comes back down anywhere near. So
Unless you make it come down.
Pardon?
Unless we make a decision to bring it down. That was the point made earlier, is that this has such an immediate impact, is that when you start getting down into those negative numbers in 2031, I think it is, yeah. There's a 10.9% reduction in these. So you do start at that point reducing your base.
But in the other scenario, we're at that same level 2 years earlier.
Well,
The other thing is
I don't
people
know what else to
are not gonna get into this like we're getting into this, and they're not gonna believe what's gonna happen next year, much lower. So I
Right.
think we have to
Right.
deal with 2026, and I think we need to, and I'm working on a presentation to show why we have to do this.
Yeah.
And that'll be key to get winning people over, I think, but, you know, it's gonna be a lot easier to explain the 23.7, or if we end up with a 2020, than it is gonna be a 60, so, and we can look at both versions, but I think I just know how people are gonna react, and maybe they won't even notice that, maybe we'll be lucky, I don't know, but, the city's gonna have almost a 17 or 18% increase, so they're gonna have to deal with that on a much larger base than we have, so. Mike, were you gonna say something you haven't there? You wanna throw your 2 cents in?
Well, just wanna clarify, thank you, Andrew Case, for that comment, so question. And for these scenarios, then, you know, building at that, that's a new floor, and then you're adding on another, are those dollars going to be then stacked in order to pay off the debt? Is that the assumption? For the 20 or the 9.7, 7.7, because you're then by year 3, you have this larger percentage plus the original levy increase. Just doing.
Yeah, the percentages, the 17, the 14.2 and the 13.2 are done on the higher amount for the 23.7 version, right? Because we pick up extra 66,000, and that's by reducing the loan with that levy. Because we can make better use of the levy than we can a loan. So I think, I'm hoping that we can just move on through with it. I don't know, we'll see.
Right, because I mean, just.
We can always return it to them later on, which we start doing in the 3rd year.
Well, because in 2027, it's 9.4 and then 7.1, so it's really 16 point.
Oh, you're looking at the table itself.
Right,
Yeah.
you know, and just in terms of like then translating into dollars and then what the loans are. So year 2 is really 16.1, and then year 3 is 22.8. And then, but those are the dollars, and it will be dedicated strictly just to, because the challenge has been in the district, we've been aggressive on things, and things come up, every year, we've had this conversation many times, we don't build in a slush fund. But we know there's things that are happening. This year was a Curly Fund, for example, right? Just one thing.
Right.
That all of a sudden, you know, if you're saying you're gonna have to have grants for everything. Things will unravel quickly, because it's not. Like you're just like, this is what's gonna cost to repair a road. You know, it's not that much of a fixed, you know, known quantity, so to speak, within a certain range of a known number, so.
Well, also, by the time we get to the point where we're getting a grant, we've got a lot of money invested in it already before we even get any grant dollars.
Well, right, but now going
So-
forward, that's the objective is gonna be that we search out grant dollars to
Right.
pay for that. In addition, I think it's gonna be just a policy piece that we need to go leverage, you know, to,
And that's gonna slow us down.
with Bowser. Yeah, for sure. But I think, you know, it's just, but I mean, we have the numbers on our side from the standpoint that, you know, we've done the comparative of the SWA model compared to the diagnostic model. And we see then, even last night, you know, the benefit and the joy and the appreciation that residents around Bone Lake had of having the lake, you know, at the quality that it was compared to those residents that were there for, you know, some, you know, decade or more, that remember when it was hardly tolerable
Yeah.
to recreate it.
Yes, and that's certainly appreciated that it happened earlier rather than later. It didn't take 15 years to clean up the lake. So I think that's got some real value too, and needs to be always highlighted. If you can pull up this CPA version, and it's on the combined watershed summary. Down on line 72. The unrestricted reserves.
Is that big enough?
No, a little bit bigger, I think, just to see the letters or the numbers, I mean, yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so this one, this is what I was talking about, is if you, line, or column F, the third one over is the 2026. And you can see how, column E is 2025. That unrestricted reserve for 2025 is estimated to be 191,000. And then if you go over into 2026, the first year of this budget deployed, we're up to 774,000. And then the next year, it's doubling, to almost 1,500, and then 2,200. And this is what I was talking about. We only need, assuming that our overhead stays the same people hired and all of that, we're only going to need about 700,000 in the, to cover that 6 months of overhead. So we're already there. So any of this extra can be used for a surprise, thing, like Mike was talking about, that we didn't plan on. Or it can be used to, reduce the debt faster. And then when we get to the point where we have stability in that reserve, so that we're getting what we need every year and then some, whatever that cushion we determine to be, then that's when we can start lowering the basis. We can maybe go by years. Right now it's predicted at 3%, and then in year 20. What is this year? Go up. What's the year on that one? Or the one that says 333,000? See how it drops from 688 to 333? That's when we can start not having any taxes or reducing that basis.
So my only question is, I agree with you,
It's
you're
huge.
building a tremendous cash thing here, and the fact is, we
Well,
may not use it, we may use it, if grants have to be covered to our projects, we may not have that many projects, we're gonna be rolling in cash.
I'm not saying that. You're not listening to what I just said. I said when we get to the point where we have used that excess to pay down the debt quickly, that's when we can start reducing the basis. We're gonna be stable, so whatever that stability level is for us going forward. So it could be, where does it start right now? It's low, it's way lower than what we need. But when we get all the debt paid out and we have stable increases, we're gonna have increases every year in the rent and, inflation and all of that, that has to be there. But we find that new base point, and then you can not have levies for a while.
When people go to buy a car,
Mhm.
how many people buy cash, pay cash?
I don't know.
Not very many. You think so?
The numbers are surprising, even homes
Mhm.
these
Okay.
days. I mean, right now, presently.
So then what you're asking them today is pay up front for 3 or 4 years, right? Yeah. And I think all they're concerned about is what's happening in 2026. And why does it have to be 60%? And I don't think they wanna hear what's gonna happen 10 years from now, but most of them won't be here.
Yeah, not everyone in the public is gonna be in the same
Mhm.
Right.
financial category, so by any means.
So we don't offer a payment program. It's 50% increase, and it's gonna be 55% the next year compared to what it was the year, and then it's gonna be another 65, or it's gonna be higher than that the third year.
And build on it.
And then we can maybe start reducing it. By then, the watershed's gonna be gone, or
How
something
is
else
it,
gonna
how is
happen.
it being? I don't understand what you're saying there.
I'm just
really
saying that
It's
if people
3%.
get on your case over increases in money, I've seen them do some pretty drastic things. Getting rid of mayors and everything else very quickly, so, I just think we need to think about what we're doing. And I think going slower is a little bit easier. If we run into a bunch, we might have to take a small loan again, but I think it's better than asking people to really pay a big amount for 3 years in a row. And actually, it stays that way all the way through the end, 60% higher at the end than you started with. So,
Unless in 4 years from now.
but if you pay down the loan faster, you can't support all these programs. You can't afford the expenses.
Sure you can. This is what this is telling you. The unrestricted reserves are going to be beyond what we need.
Right.
So we first use that overage to pay down the debt. We might pay it down 3 years earlier. Yes,
Madam President and managers, one of the objectives we're hoping tonight is to come up with numbers for the budget and levy that can be published. Right, for the hearing, so they're not necessarily the final numbers, but this is a really excellent debate. I think I appreciate and applaud the board for putting in as much time and effort into this matter of concern for the entire public. But I think that's one of the outcomes really that we, at a staff level, is certainly hoping to have out of tonight's meeting, because right now, then it's already gonna be the second week of September before we can have the hearing. And then, of which, Manager Schmaltz, you won't return until the 17th. So then, just a consideration for that, part of it, so.
well, I would recommend, and I have before, that we take the highest budget, which is this one, from the CPA firm, and use that.
I would recommend we take the scenario two that I have in 23.7 that staff and I and Emily worked on. So that's a big difference between the two.
But
And,
you wanna be higher, you don't wanna be lower, because you can't go any other way.
well, I think the board has to decide whether they wanna live with a 60% increase too, so
That's what I'm
so.
saying, yeah.
So, well, I had a question though from Chuck's letter. I got a little confused on the second letter that he sent out. He said we're supposed to tell him what the budget amount is. Right? So if we were gonna do it, the budget amount from this scenario would have been. For 2026 would be 4.4 million. Okay? So now if we decide and we get a big grant. Like a $2 million grant that's covered, the budget's gonna go up 2 million because we're gonna put that grant and expenses into the budget. Are we allowed to change the budget?
Yes, anytime, that can go up and down.
Okay,
No,
it's just the levy that's constrained.
correct. In
So why
fact,
don't we both put a motion on the floor for two numbers and let's vote and see and get discussion going about the numbers.
Right,
I'll make a motion for just general discussion and comparison, not to vote on necessarily. I'll suggest that we go with the 23.7 scenario that I talked about before. Which means our expenses would be 4.24. $4,424,000. And the levy would be a little bit above that, $4,431,000.
What is
So
your-
those are the two numbers,
What's your first number for?
the budget,
the revenue, not the levy, Manager Schmaltz.
what?
Just to verify, Madam President.
Yes,
You-
right.
When you said four.
Oh, the levy, I'm sorry, you're right,
You
you're right.
said, you said the revenue, not necessarily.
It's the levy, which the levy would be $2,233,000.
Neither.
Write that down, somebody. Maybe you can put it on a screen somehow?
Can
Will
you see
them
it
side
here?
by side?
They're up there.
Oh, side by
Okay.
side, sure.
Okay,
Use a different color.
so maybe you can write
And what was the other number? The full budget?
$4,424,000,
For the full budget?
right?
But why would you want to include that? Because it has the loans, not loans, the grants in there.
Because he has. That's what he did in the last, we've done that every year, we close the budget and the levy. And the budget can go up or down, Mike says, the levy can only go down.
Then we do budget adjustments. We do other budget adjustments through the year.
Right, I know,
Yeah, so there's no.
last year was a tremendous one from 300,000, 3 million to 5 million. Right,
So-
project costs, yeah.
Right, and there may be a scenario where if we don't close on the Bone Lake South property by the end of the year. We'll be carrying over and spending in 2026 an additional 2.4 million or so.
Right.
And there's no concern with that, we have the
Okay.
money and. So those things do happen and they have happened. From a strictly budget.
But it's not money out of the taxpayers' pockets.
Correct,
That's why
Yeah.
I think it's important to have the levy be separate from the projects and programs even too, some of them. but definitely for anything that's paid for by a grant.
Yeah.
We should say it's part of what we're doing. What it shows is the work that we're doing, but it's not gonna cost the taxpayers anything. And that's an important message too.
Did, thoughts, Madam President, there was some correspondence with Chuck today. Was there any? So historically, the district has put a notice out for, the budget and then total levy amount, and not necessarily, putting anything
And else in there, yeah.
right, so, but
Yeah.
did either of you speak with him about that, or?
No, I think what he's saying is right. I mean, the only thing that matters is the levy and how much people are gonna have to pay on the tax side. But what I'm saying is that when we do the budget discussion, or it could go in that notice too, it doesn't matter. The entire budget, what it shows the public is that my budget is $5,191,000. And what that shows is against the total budget, the levy in this scenario is $2,884. Or $2,884,000. So half of our budget is being spent, or for the project work is being done without taxpayer input. It's being done by grants. So I think that's a really important message.
How did you get your expense budget for 2026 is what?
The levy
5.49
is $2,884,000.
Right, I see
An
that,
increase of $1,078,557.
right.
The breakdown, the next part of our budget is the proposed projects and water quality programs budget. And that is $2,306,575, which is paid 90% with grant funding.
Well, what's the
Ten
total?
percent with in-kind contributions, so the total of that is those two things, areas is $5,191,000.
Why does it show only 4,397,000 on your sheet then?
What's that?
Your CPA sheet?
Which one, which page are you looking at?
I'm on the
Page 3,
combined watershed summary, page 3, 2026. The levy revenue up above is like, it's exactly what you said, 2,484 plus 400. And then you drop down the expense category, go all the way to the bottom, it's 4,397,000, not 5 million something. In fact, your budget is lower than our budget. I don't know how that could be, because we took out $295,000.
Just telling you what I see.
2,884,000, I don't believe would be a 60% increase. It says 208,884,000 on this tab, but this tab indicates an even 2.9 million, and that 2.9 million would be the 60% increase. So is it 2.8 or 2.9?
On what, the general fund?
The total tax, the total
That's
levy.
$2,884,000.
Okay, so we should not go with
What was
the
it?
summary tab. We should go with the combined watershed summary. Okay.
And then the expense category, Emily, we show 4,424,000, correct?
Yes, the one that you and I put together, 4,424,000.
Right, and then on the CPA version, it shows 4,397,000.
Yeah, and Jackie, I said my list of comments, I think they have the total staff wages and benefits for 2026 at 992,000,
Yeah,
which is lower than the other budget scenarios we've been working on.
how much lower?
It is about 110,000 lower than Steve's version. All
Okay,
right, let me double check. Yep, or 210,000. Hold on, let me see. 200, your staff budget is $218,000 lower than Steve's staff budget.
okay,
That's probably one reason why there's that cost differential. Haven't gone through the other numbers to check.
okay. Okay. Noted.
So do you want to put those two numbers back and then open it up for discussion?
What is your levy budget right now? Just your general fund levy.
My total levy is, 2,233,800. Thanks, Emily. Now we can see it clearly.
And then the project, budget,
Well, they're all, well, projects are separated. I mean, the salaries are up in projects, I mean, up in salaries, but the, ongoing projects, the new projects would be 1,862,000. And ongoing programs would be 365.
so I have projects and programs at 2,306,575. So that's a little higher than yours. Is that
Do you
correct?
have the salaries in that or not?
No,
No.
no. Salaries are all up in the general fund, but it's a little short, is what she's saying. It's about 218,000 short. So that has to go up, but a bit. So that would add 218,000 to the current budget that I'm seeing here for general fund. So 218.
That changes all your numbers, of course.
Well, it makes that one 3,162,000. Instead of 2,884.
I don't follow. Jackie, are you saying you want your levy to be 3,000,000 will you repeat what you want the levy to be?
Yeah, if you're correct that this budget is lower, which I think it is too, 218,000 is what you said it was short. I just added that to my number. And got the 2,884 number at the top on my memo. And yep, and then it's 3,102,000.
Well, what, it wouldn't be added to that, it'd be added to your expenses.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing.
That's the levy, Mom. I'm looking, she's saying that's out of the people, the wages, benefit.
Yeah, wages and benefit, that's in the expenses, not in the levy. You don't add it to your levy.
But your levy's based on your expenses. It's to pay the expenses.
Yeah, but it's only gonna cover half your expenses anyway, so how can you tell how much it should be just from those salaries? And that belongs in your expense line, not
Well,
the
it's not,
levy.
it's. Yes,
Okay, put it wherever you want,
your,
it's okay.
your expenses feed into the levy, don't you? That's how this calculation, you have to know what you're spending money on. That's the budget part, and then that's drives your levy. And levy is, in this case, is just the overhead expenses, the administrative.
Well, you're actually, the number you gave us is only 58% too. So it's not even 60%, so the 2,844. I divided by the levy in 2025. So, and you said it's 60.6, right?
Well, that's what it comes out on the tablet here, on the worksheet. But anyway, you know, the point being is that it's going to, what's your levy amount again?
Up on the, can
we
you put
wanna
those
do-
back up?
We want to do the highest
Yeah,
number.
I just want to make sure I've got Jackie's numbers right. Um,
Let's just do a poll, I mean,
Mhm.
well, do I have Jackie's numbers right? Jackie, you said you want to add 218,000 to both the levy and the expense budget in your proposal. So that
Yeah.
would be a levy increase of 71.8%.
Possible. I need to talk to Bonnie tomorrow, but it doesn't matter right now, because if it's higher, we can still work with that. And correct that after the fact, but if we wanna get this. If we wanna get this noticed in the paper as fast as possible, I'm just saying use the highest number. We can always bring it down. This is going in the notice. So all of that can be corrected. And when did you wanna place this? Tomorrow?
this
No,
this goes out to the public, right? So,
Right, we need to put for the statute, we need to publish for 2 weeks. The local papers come out on Thursdays, and then we can't do it
Right.
that Thursday night, you have to be 2 more days, so the following. So, I mean, in theory, at this point. Well, I guess one is, would we wanna wait till Manager Schmaltz returns from his trip, and then that would dictate
To do what? Have the public meeting?
to have, right, to set the hearing,
Yes,
so.
that was the point.
Right, so then, cause we're now at the point where, if we, put it on this Friday, we could have something the week of the 8th, but. We could wait another week as much as,
well, it's probably better to get things prepared. I'm gonna try to do preparation before I leave on the second.
Mhm.
right,
So,
so,
because that's gonna be critical, and we can't have 6 pages of, of dialogue about this, and we have to some nice high hitting slides.
right,
So I guess the question I ask right now, let's take a roll call on the managers, how we stack up against a 72%, 71% increase versus a 23.
It's not 72%. You know, it's not going to go up like that for $200,000 in this budget. It's just not gonna do that. So instead of being 60.6, it might be 60.9. So we've gotta get this straightened out with the CPA. I'll call her tomorrow
No, we're gonna vote tonight.
and
We're gonna vote on this tonight. Because we have to move on, because I'm gonna be out of town too. So, I mean, she just entered it in, Jackie,
yeah,
and she ran the calculation, it's about 3 percentage points different,
we just make it 60% or something.
yeah.
mhm,
Why don't you just make it 60.6, that's what you had before,
yeah.
take the old number from 25 and add 60.6 to it, and that'll be the number that you want.
I just wanna make sure that we have.
I wanna make sure you have the right number too, so
Yeah.
that's 2.9 million there, okay. And we've got a 2.233 at the other option, right,
Yeah,
okay,
Remove that top one.
yeah, remove the top one there.
71%.
so I would suggest that we use that highest number, the 2.9. That position doesn't change. Because we can always go down. And we want to be down by the time we have our public meeting.
Well, I have two options, I'm thinking of the 23.7, or if we wanna go down from there, we go to the 20%. So those are the two options that I would like to see us consider, but I think we have to consider that number, but let's have the board, can we just do a roll call on it? And not a formal vote to see where we stand?
Sure. Just say Steve's or Jackie's, that's the easiest way to do it. You wanna go through the
Oh,
roll?
yeah, sure. Manager Schmaltz,
I prefer the 23.7% increase.
Manager Baki,
I would just like to comment as well, since Doug and I haven't had much of a say in this conversation. I think it is important to sustain the watershed district and the important work that's being done to preserve and improve water quality. I think we can do that with a 20% increase. I'm concerned about the impact on our public's property taxes, as everyone else is, because we know there will be other increases that will really touch home for a lot of folks. And I think we need to be transparent. We need to choose a number that is solid. The discussion of always coming down just doesn't hold water for me. I think we need to pick a number and stick to it. And I go with the 20% increase on the levy.
23.7, you mean?
No, 20%.
Okay,
Thank you, Dave. For voicing your opinion.
well,
That's
speak
what we're
up.
here for.
Well, yeah,
I agree.
but speak up.
We have to live with it, whatever it is. I mean, if we're short, we're short. If we're over, we're over.
Manager Tates.
Yeah, I'm looking at 23.7. I can't sell a 60% increase to myself, much less to other people. I understand the effort to do it, but in the long run, 10 years down the road, the money doesn't come back. It just stays up there. And it's possible it could, but it's possible the other one could come down even more too. So I stick with the 23.7.
And President Anderson.
I vote for the CPAs. The one-time hit, 60%. Steve, you said you want the 23.1.
23.7, thinking that, we may end up at 20, depending on the reaction we get, or 19.7 or something lower than that, but I just wanted to, if we could sneak that through and get it through, I think it would be nice, to have that extra 66,000, because we are tight. We don't have the money you have, Manager Anderson. So, we have a lot of extra time to make decisions, but we don't have that big cash flow as you have. Which is nice, but hard to defend. So.
Well, I think we have to keep in mind.
Dave, would you settle, split the difference?
Hold on just a minute. Doug, you had something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have to keep in mind too that even the 23.7, it's not a 1-point hit. That's the new floor. And then we keep going up from there unless we do dramatic reversals 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. But from looking just organizationally, yes, it's nice to have that huge balance sitting there. But I have a hard time paying into a savings account for the watershed when I can't pay into a savings account of my own. So maybe you don't speak for many people, but I have to speak for myself at least.
I think a lot of people feel the same way, but.
Okay, go ahead, Manager Schmaltz.
Yeah, I was thinking, Manager Baca, you had preferred the 20%, which is one we started with. Would you be okay with just splitting the difference? So we have a little bit of a cushion on that 20?
I'll give that some consideration, but I really do believe we need to be solid on a 20% number. And that's the number we put out there. The idea that we're telling the public we can come down, it's just not genuine in my mind. I think we need to choose a number and stick to it as a board. And then when we get the public input, we may have to come down from that. That's the reality I think we should be facing. The 23% is a bit high, but I will give it consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we should really decide tonight so we can move ahead with getting this out, I think. So, Mike, you had a.
Madam President, managers, probably should have thought of asking Chuck this question earlier, but on the public notice, I don't know, because certainly a concern is valid, by all points with respect to what the manager stated, both your presentation and others, is having a special designation of dollar amount or levy for the debt reduction, and whether or not the public notice could include two separate levy numbers, one, whatever the levy amount is, and the other one being a levy amount for debt reduction. As an indicator that So then people can see that, but our notices have just been all lumped into one, and our resolutions that we have passed in past years, we have separated that out, but some of those differences, including insurance and debt service, things like that, but in terms of that, so I did ask Mr. Holtman to be available for a phone call if necessary, but I don't know if it really matters to the board or not.
She's saying it could be as general as about this number too, and some of the examples she gave here.
Okay,
So,
It's,
he says one of the examples is that the budget could between X and Y, maybe X and Y is only 60,000 apart on over $2 million. It doesn't seem like a big
Right.
spread.
on the budget rate,
So maybe we could do that.
but on the levy, I'm referring to the levy.
Levy, no, we have to stick with the number on the levy.
Just a singular one.
well, that's under 103B. If you wanted to do it under 103D, that's when you get into those different funds. But it's cleaner if you do it just with one number. If we can do that, that would be great. And if he says you can do a range.
Well,
then-
range on the expenses is what he was talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dave, would you be okay with that? So we have the range of 2,844,000. I'm sorry, that's, let me get my other number. So the range would be,
I don't think expenses are listed on that notice either, under 103B. Just the levy number.
so the levy on the levy, bottom levy would be 2,167,000. Up to 2,233,000. So there's a $66,000 difference, but it's hardly noticeable when you have 7 digits.
I like that approach, Steve. I think if we can give a range, I think that's an appropriate way to address it.
It's a lot better than saying 20 or 23.7, and that's what, so they only see the number that probably won't even say that. And then also, our levy is only half of that. So we're paying for it with other money, not the levy. So that's Manager Anderson's point.
Mhm.
That's very important to get across too.
Yes, I like that approach.
Okay, so you're okay with that?
Yes.
Yep, all right. If everybody else agrees. Doug, are you okay with that?
You kind of lost me there.
We're gonna show a range. We're gonna show what the levy is, or what the levy is for, no, not the levy. Oh, yeah, I guess we
It
could,
is the levy.
it is a levy,
Yeah, you don't put expenses in the
right?
notice.
Right. Oh, I think it would be good, because then it shows that the levy's only covering part of it, we're paying for it with other means, that's a positive, I think, in people's minds.
Well, I think so too, but we haven't in the past done that. And if you're going to put more, then you've gotta have some kind of a notice.
That's last year's levy, remember?
Was it in there?
Yeah. It's like,
But does it say anything about,
in a separate levy says you can use a range.
yeah? Oh,
So my question, then we're going to post it in terms of dollars rather than a percentage increase, correct?
Correct, yeah,
yeah,
the paper will figure out the percentage, and the percentage will probably get into the paper. But it may not, we may not even get looked at that much, I don't know, with the city having such a big increase. They may be focusing on that situation, but I don't know, who knows?
What I like about this is it is genuine. We're being honest with our numbers. We're providing a range that we are considering rather than just.
And we've got two scenarios
that we may
too.
come down later.
Right, right. And they almost always come down. The city always comes down.
You know,
They're
our
always
public
about
doesn't
two.
understand that. So I mean, by saying this is the range we're considering, I think that's much more genuine than saying we could come down.
well, if I can just counter that for just a minute. Because it sounds like something nefarious is happening like that. It's not that at all. It's that the board is still, or the council or whoever it is, the government unit is still having a discussion about what that right number is. And so it's important for the governments entities to know that you can't go up with a number, you can go down until December. So it's really helpful to keep that in mind, but it's not nefarious. It's just, it means like this, we're having a discussion and not a consensus yet of which way we should go. Now, tonight, obviously, it was pretty clear. It's 3 against 1, and so this is the way the district is going to go.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
I
I like
think
the
also-
range and the fact that it really does show we're in discussion. We're looking at
Right.
a range of numbers. And that is
Right.
much more genuine than just saying, well, we're choosing this high number and we can come down. I just think that's a more genuine approach.
Mhm.
So we're gonna show a range on the levy and then just show the expense budget as one number? Because that can change anytime we wanna change it, we can change it even next year, so. So Mike, we have that with you and Emily, or okay with what you need?
I would just like, maybe a repeat of what the range is gonna be. Did you say that?
We're gonna be for the levy, 2,167,
12 and then,
and then 2,23828.
okay. I'm just,
And the expense budget will be the 4,424,067.
I can get on board with that.
And that shows that the local tax is only paying half of what we're gonna spend. So they could care less who's gonna pay for the other half, right? As long as they don't have to do it. So that's gonna show us a favorable light, I hope. I don't know. Do you know what the city's comparison to what their levy is versus what they cover?
Well, Steve, another way to look at this is our public may see that our watershed is truly using innovative methods to find other sources of income.
Well,
I don't know
it
how
also-
the city looks on this kind of measure though. I guess
it
I should
also-
know, but I don't.
Manager, President Anderson,
Yes,
this also makes the point that the levy isn't paying for everything, which a
Mhm.
lot of people seeing the increase are going to assume that the levy's paying for everything. So, there's a couple good loaded messages in this, I think.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, this is Chuck's email from 7:25 PM on 8/20, that's today. And it was sent to Mike and you and me, and I just want to read it for the board. This is Chuck now saying, the levy itself must be certified pursuant to the specific statutory authorities. This may include the 103B.241 levy and may include a levy under any of the specific authorities of 103D.911. The board resolution in its whereas may lay out the purposes of the levy, and so may say something like, whereas the district requires a temporary levy of 400,000 to service debt. This would explain to the public the reason for the 400,000 of the levy. But there is no specific authority for a special temporary levy in any subdivision of 103D.905. So special temporary levy wouldn't be set forth in the resolution as one of the levy authorities or sources. It would just be part of the 103B 2.41 levy, which is that consolidated number. The board could further emphasize the purpose by designating 400,000 of the levy as committed to debt service. The district then would designate this amount as committed funds pursuant to its fund balance policy, but this may be getting ahead of it. So anyway, what he's saying is that we can just do it like we're doing, the total levy made up of all of these parts, and that separation can happen on our working documents internally, and we can call them out in any type of messaging we want to do to the public. So I think keeping it simple like that is good. I think that the budget, the whole budget dollar amount you know, the point of breaking it out in my memo was to note that very clearly that the other half of our budget, nearly 50% of it, is paid for by grants. And we don't have to have that other verbiage, but I think that would be important. We're going to separate them and tell them how that gets paid. Mike, if you could send this message to all the board members, that would be good. The other three.
So do we wanna, well, let Mike do that first, and then we can. Just thinking maybe we should pick the public meeting date.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Okay, okay,
What's the schedule?
because I know Emily would like to have that, so she can
Mhm.
set up all the other
Yeah.
times.
President Anderson,
Yes.
do we need to make a motion on this to make it a more formal understanding?
I was just thinking that same thing, is that as soon as Mike's done, I will have a motion. You can make it. And then we'll make it formal. I don't see us coming back to this. So,
Madam President, managers, I just will point out for the other managers that. That there's a discussion in the lower part of this email. More specific to the discussion this evening
oh,
as well, so.
it's a piggyback one, okay.
Correct. I was just asking for clarification on the public notice, but he also then provided guidance on the rest of it too, so, which is great, so very timely. Appreciate that, Mr. Holtman.
Mhm.
But this, in the lower section there, he says, I'm not familiar with the details, et cetera, but then goes into the, that there's nothing wrong with the notice saying, for example, that the board is considering a budget between X and Y, or that there is a proposed budget of X, but the board is considering another Y, for the purpose of building a reserve, for a particular initiative, such as Greenbelt, or addressing short-term financing for the debt, so
Thank you for that. So you've got the whole string then, and that's good. All right, is there a motion present to accept our way forward?
Want me to make it?
No, I think Manager Baki should make it.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we state the levy range of $2,167,012 to $2,233,828, with an expense budget of $4.4 million to be funded by grants, levy, and other revenues.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that. They give it to Doug.
Give it to Doug. Okay. Manager Smalls,
I,
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
No.
okay. Anything else we have to do? Oh, we
Did
wanna
the
get a
motion
date.
pass?
Pardon me?
Did the motion pass?
The motion passes 3-1.
I can't say it, man. The
Thank
president's gotta say that.
Yeah, you gotta sit back there a little bit. Hold your reins
I am.
in a little bit. The next question is the schedule for notification in the newspapers. So can you or Emily walk us through that?
yes, Madam President, managers, so we could probably put it up there if we get it out by the end of the week here on the 22nd. To the papers, it'll be published on the 28th of August and then September 4th. The earliest we could have the hearing would be September 8th, however, at this time, they're planning to wait until Manager Smalls returns from his trip. So then that would be Thursday, September 18th would be the soonest that we would have.
I'm back at 17th, like 10 o'clock at night, so in my time, in your time, it would be 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we can have it later. than
Yeah,
that,
maybe
don't you?
later.
So the 22nd would be Monday, the 22nd. 23rd would be Manager Lowe's last day on the board.
Why don't we do Mondays are good meetings to have meetings for you to, because people,
Is that a Monday?
yeah. Mondays are
22nd.
good Because.
Is
people
that,
forget
is that
about-
good for you, Manager Baki, Manager Tate? Is that a good date for you?
Checking.
Did you say yes?
He's checking.
Okay, checking, okay.
the President.
I'm sorry, what's the date again?
Monday, September 22nd.
For the public hearing on the budget.
I can do that.
I am not available on the 22nd.
Okay, what day are you available?
The 15th?
What's the 19th?
Friday.
19th is a Friday.
Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
Works for
Manager
me.
Tate?
Works for
Oh,
me.
good. How about you, Steve?
Sure,
Okay,
I might not be able to, but.
well, you get back on the 17th, right?
Yeah, late 17th, yeah.
Okay. Got a full day to cover. Maybe a
Do you
day.
need the administrator?
Oh, yes, what about you? Yeah,
I just have
A wedding.
an event, yes, down in Madison. It's our program reunion for our water resources. And so I know people are coming from around the country
Mm,
to be present, so for that day. So I don't know if it's necessary to take I mean, it would be, I could attend remotely probably. I guess I could offer that, because it's gonna be a day of programming and
oh,
things like that, so.
What about Tuesday?
we probably don't wanna do that.
No, Manager Baki just said he's not available.
Monday's not there.
Well, I guess,
Are you available on the 23rd, Manager Baki?
No, that week I am not available.
Okay, thank you.
I think proceed with the 19th, and I'll plan to attend remote.
And what time? I mean, on a Friday, we're doing it Friday.
Well, Manager Tage will be working, so
Mhm.
he would not be available till the evening. I mean, that would be unusual to have a Friday evening meeting, so, but
It kind of would, wouldn't it?
yes.
When you stop and think about it, who else has ever had a public meeting on a Friday like this? There might be, now that's where I think people might suspect that it was done for a reason,
Yeah, I
to
agree.
keep the numbers down, and we don't want that to happen.
The 18th then, back to the 18th.
What about later on? What about Wednesday or Thursday?
Ken, then you'll have the new board member.
Huh?
You'll have the new board.
That's fine. I mean, he's
Right.
gonna sit there anyway for a few months.
Right.
And then, because Chris is probably at the.
Well, then
Manager Baki?
yeah, the only problem is then Manager Baki will be gone the whole week.
Right,
Then we're into the very last possible date, and that's Monday, the 29th. We have to certify it then also at the same day. So that's, you can't take further input and then,
No,
so I think we're really back to the 18th. Thursday, the 18th. If we wanna try to get, and we don't know what Manager Lowe's schedule is like, but we do know the 4 managers here's schedule, so,
okay.
do you want to be present at that meeting, or do you think the board can handle the presentation without you there?
Well, I have some very distinct thoughts about what we should
Yeah.
present, so I'll put it together before I leave, and you guys can decide what you're gonna do.
well, we have to put it in the paper.
What?
We need to publish.
Oh, no, the date's fine. I'm talking about the presentation. Who's gonna give the presentation to justify it? Or are you just gonna answer questions, or we should have a
No, we do.
story we tell.
We do, right,
Yeah.
we do a presentation,
Mhm.
this will be,
You've
a little
gone through
bit
it
different,
before.
yeah.
You know how it goes. Mike stands up or does a slideshow talking about the history and what we're going to be doing in the coming year, and this is the levy amount that we need. So, pretty
yeah, Emily's
routine.
has
Emily
done
puts
it
it
too,
together.
so I mean, so.
Yeah.
Historically, more of these have been part of our regular meetings, and they're just a short, public hearing within the entire, meeting itself. So, so they haven't been extensive, but we haven't had to.
Yeah,
So this, but just, and that would be.
So
the
I will
case
be
in-
back on Thursday, the 25th, for that meeting in the evening. Are you saying, Mike, we could include this as a part of the regular board meeting?
On the 25th, yes, it could be. Mhm. Yes,
That would
I'm
work for
sorry, I
me.
thought you were gone the whole week. So,
are you gonna be back Zoom wise or regular in person?
I could be back in person. That's necessary.
On Monday, the
no, the
20th.
20
Thursday, the
Thursday,
20,
the 25th,
Well, that's not the right calendar then, is it?
September.
September.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at August, sorry.
And it's 29th,
Yeah.
last day we have to certify, or the 30th certification, so we have plenty of time.
Well, you have a few days.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
mean,
we do it the 26th certified, can't we? Just send a
You-
letter
well, what I might propose is that we actually have the resolution and all the documents ready for the 25th as well. And then if there's no pitchforks and torches, per se, then there's. But I mean, otherwise you're just running into having the meeting Monday to make any further adjustments.
in. Well, if they're really upset about it,
We should hear in advance.
we're not gonna be able to cut it down to 14 anyway, we're gonna have to stick with our number and work it out between now and the end of the 28th.
Well, you have until the end of
I
the
mean,
year.
December 20th.
Correct, as I say, you have until the end of the year.
So we're not gonna scramble in a day and a half or even Monday to get it done.
Right.
We're just gonna get ourselves deeper if we do that. So, I mean, they're gonna hate us, they're gonna have to hate us all the way up to December till we get it resolved.
Mhm.
So,
Well, that'd be a lot of opportunity to, further the story and get
Right,
people
right.
engaged and.
but one of the things that's different about this meeting is that probably some more people are gonna come and they're gonna wanna know why 23% or whatever the number is.
Mhm.
And so we need to have specific slides that tell that story. Well, how did we get into this situation and why are we in it? How we're gonna get out of it?
Can we go back for just a minute on September, the September calendar? Why can't we do this on our regular meeting? On the 20th,
Fifth?
that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Why
we're talking
couldn't we
about.
do that?
We are.
Okay, so,
Okay, yeah.
and we can't do it the week before? There's not enough time for noticing to do it that
No.
week?
We can, but Manager Smaltz is on the Thursday, the
I'm gonna
18th.
have about 14 hours of sleep between that and the meeting.
Yeah,
So,
and the Friday the 19th, we can't do it.
Yeah, that's not a good
The
thing.
22nd, we can't do it. And Jabaki's gone.
And a regular board meeting makes like it's regular routine business, right?
Mhm.
well, that's what we've always done it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We've never had a special meeting
Right.
here now.
right.
we
So
just don't
that's,
get that many people coming to.
Well,
meetings.
and I'm hoping we don't
probably
have
have,
any.
but they've been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then if we do, we just,
Yeah,
then we've got plenty of time to work out, you have a new person on board for a while, he should make some contributions and.
and you could be at that meeting? Manager Baki
Yes,
and Manager Taves, you can too?
Yes,
Okay, why don't we just keep it that date then?
Yeah. And then Mike could be there too, then.
Yeah,
I feel better when he's there personally.
the second notice can be. What, it has to end 2 days before the meeting, is that right?
Right, so the notice right now could go out as late as, first week of
Mhm.
September even, but. I mean, we just have to get it out for 2 consecutive weeks and then,
Mhm.
and then an additional 2 days, so.
Mhm.
We'll easily meet that, we can get it out, and then there's time for the public to communicate with the board and
Mhm.
staff about. Any.
Yeah.
Feelings they may have about it one way or the other,
Mhm.
and we'll have time.
Yeah.
To prepare and respond to any questions that might come up.
Yeah, well, I think that's gonna work then, 25th. But just keep it with the meeting.
We'll make sure we start.
You're gonna have it here, or we're gonna have it in
We start those usually earlier though, don't we? Like, we used to do a half an hour earlier to have the public meeting on the budget.
No,
No, it depends on the agenda, I suppose,
Right.
yeah.
Say, Doug, when can you be there on the 25th? What are your times, because I know you work.
it should be a 6:30 start time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get done at 5.
6:30 work for you?
I get done at 5.
Okay, perfect, okay,
so we'll keep it at
6:30.
6:30, we don't need,
just like a regular meeting then.
yeah, exactly. First thing on the agenda,
Is for the open meeting law requirements, we cannot, because the meeting is already posted as a regular meeting, you can start at 6:30 and later, you cannot start it earlier. Without noticing it as a special meeting.
yeah. Good, so it'll just be first on the agenda after the roll call.
Typically, yes, right after the
Mhm.
consent agenda.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. The public comments, yeah.
Okay, is there anything else we need to do for the budget?
If you have any ideas about what we should be presenting, you might want to send them to Mike too, because I'm,
Mhm.
then he can pick what he wants.
Well,
to do.
anybody, everybody, if you've got ideas on what you would like to
How to sell.
see part of that, presentation, then.
Well,
get
we
your
can work on a
information
draft
tonight.
and send it to the full board.
Yeah.
I just want to thank all the people who have worked really hard on this, getting us to this point. I know, you've spent a lot of time, including staff and Jackie and Steve. I do appreciate all your hard work and, I just want to thank you for that.
Well, it's good to have the input of the CPA too.
Yeah.
I think that was a good suggestion
Mhm.
because, you never know, so.
No, and I'd like to
Well,
add, I'd like to add kudos to Emily for running the magic show there behind the scenes.
Yes, of course, always. Very good, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Manager Baki. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
All right, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
aye. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, good meeting, thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Yep, thanks for the input through the TV.
Mhm.
It's nice. Not to have to prompt. Thanks very much.